There are different levels to family, and each are beautiful in their own ways.
God is good because He lets us have multiple dimensions of family. We are born into our family, and there's this saying, you don't choose who your family is. But I thank God for choosing for us who our families are. With the love that parents are to have for their children, the nurturing, the support system that they provide, it's a nice gift. Then He gives you people that you are very closely related to. So that's that allies within your siblings, within your parents. But that bond of family is complemented by the next stage of family, inclusive of what is referred to in-laws / extended family. And that set of family, your next nearest set of relatability. These are the people that are the siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles to your parents or yourself as well. And having that next degree of relatability is such a gift to possess. But God is really, really great because there is that family you choose. Anytime you marry someone, you're binding that person into yourself. You're binding them into your bloodline, into your worldview, into your home. That's now your family. Wife / husband is a form of family because a wife and husband is a label for a covenant merger. So they're not just situationally connected, they are biblically, spiritually, legally even family based on that title. And God is so good because He made this family merger of these two people that were once strangers. In my belief system, God says that when two people become married, they become one. So He sees them as inextricably united in their pair bond. They're not just two people who are together. They are one as two people. And God wants their bond to be so secure that, biblically speaking, it will be long-lasting, ideally lifetime. The bond that they chose together in this pair bonding model is such an adult decision, very responsible of them, and it shows a lot about their values, the person they choose to make life with, make family with, merge into their families. This choice that they make is such an addition to their joy. It's a person they can have and hold, and the home life traditions they'll enjoy together is something to celebrate. Whether it's Sunday dinners or suppers that they'll have throughout the week, whether it's family nights watching movies, or being in the backyard playing a game of catch, grilling by the barbecue, whatever it is that families do, they have this person that they can make memories with, a person they can make life with. And what's great is having that person with them to make a journey that is very sacred to the both of them when they decide not just to pair bond into family, but to elongate their bloodline. They get to be each other's progenitors. And being that they get to help expand the other person's lineage, such a gift because they're helping each other's lineage stay alive. Their empathy for each other in helping to propagate each other's DNA is such an honor. And the fact that they have this shared offspring together that no one else can say they cultivated with that other person is such a secure bond. It's such a significant set apart difference. And the beauty of that is they also have each other's families. They get to be allies to the family that this nuclear couple is creating within their nuclear family. As we expound on families so that it's not just couples to couples, but couples into in-laws, in-laws into the larger society, we can see a world filled with nuclear families. And ideally that will become our collective world to experience. In such a world, any one of these people could be your in-laws. Because just think about it. How many family members are not just within a nuclear family, but an extended family? So as these members consistently merge themselves and decide we will be family as a bloodline, that's giving us new people that we can somehow be interconnected with. And as a demographic with all the resource scarcity we have, we need to get creative about using each other as resources. in-laws. The more in-laws, the more married families. The more married families, the more these people have a closer level of relatability, so that it's not just situational, but chosen, unconditional, sacred, and ideally politically aligned. We need to become a family-centric demographic so that we understand we have support systems in one another. The beauty of godly levels to family is that God gives us people that we can be surrounded with so that we're not truly alone. After all, it is God who said that it is not good to be alone. We have to use each other as support systems because together we can battle the forces against us internally, externally, and begin to work for the greater good with what future we want for our offspring. Another level to family is being able to relate to the structure that someone else has. Yes, I understand that at some point we can eventually become even more related as a demographic through marriage. But I'm speaking in this instance on empathy. The more I see you have families, the more I can relate to the fact that within my own family, for example, I see someone who has the lifestyle that I possess and in the demographic markers that I'm in. And that's the mindset we should have, is that just like they have their families and you have your families, it becomes this shared linkage and bond. You have a shared sense of stake, risk, and loss. Ideally, gain as well. But that shared sense of support, that shared sense of familiarity around you becomes the reason why you say, well, I can support this person and feel a sense of oneness and kinship with this person. Because anything that goes against their family could likely go against yours. Having the black family in common is likely our political ground for supporting unity and realizing that we are one people, not just situationally, not just because of consequence, but because being in a black demographic in a world that does not value us at all is already difficult. Being able to share within that demographic some sense of refuge, I believe, counter the narratives against us. Having a shared sense of risk within the black family gives us people that we can politically align to and work with when there are forces keeping us from surviving and thriving in this world. And if we are to see our entire demographic as a family, that will be better, because there are forces infrastructurally against us, starving us out of most places and opportunities in this world. Like, for example, did you know that there are land covenants? In summary, a land covenant is a legal and racist way of keeping us from buying homes in certain regions. Think of all the land in sundown towns that we could just never have. Did you know that there are biases when it comes to hiring practices and giving out loans? And that's just one of the many ways that we are infrastructurally kept out of different opportunities in this world. If we can demographically see ourselves as a family rather than being vulnerable and cut off from one another, we can begin to tackle this frailty and create the world that we know we want to see. There is this phrase, united we stand and divided we fall. I know this world is hard against us, but let us unite so we can stand together so that we can rise as a community. The beauty of the black family in its different levels is that God gave us support systems. Let's use those support systems to our benefit. I love the black family. I love black unity. I love black support systems. Let us realize the beauty of the black family in its different levels because we are one.
I think you'll find, sir, that there will come a time when black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
For tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black. I am. Betting on black tonight.
Lovely. You look great.
Thank you.
For every black couple formed, is the introduction of new blood, the elongation of bloodlines, and a personal support found in an ideal mate. Let us celebrate our family in their love stories.
Let us lead with love. In my belief system, God is love. God commands his people to love. And I believe that as we lead with love, we can create a safe space for our romantic commitment. And of course, our demographic unity. You see, the thing about love, specifically the love that binds couples, is within each other's bosoms, there's warmth and strength. As they clasp each other's hands, they have that person that's a reminder of their hope. And they chose this person, so they chose this person that will be, God's willing, their family builder. This is the person they're making family with. And I just love to see that not only is this romantic love an incentive to creating family, but out of all the people in this world, this is the person they agree, like, okay, I'm making a family with you. This is the person that they agree is like, okay, we are family together. Now, the sacredness of their bond is, as the Bible calls it, covenant. So there is something extremely set apart about being a couple as compared to other bloodline connectivity. Ideally, their families will support their union. Ideally, as in-laws, we will make safe spaces for the couples that are coming into our life, because we have to see their mate as the reason our loved one's DNA is continuing, and ideally you would want that for your loved one. Also, you should see their mate as the reason your loved one is so joyful and happy, and celebrate that. And also have empathy for this other person who God gave into your family, because your family member that you are bloodline related to is bringing this new family member that you will be, by the grace of God, covenanted into as a family and legally into. And also, this is that new blood. They give you new awareness, new influence, new perspectives. So celebrate the inspiration of newness that these families have. Don't look down on your in-laws. Don't perceive your in-laws as a threat. How is the love that this person has for your loved one a threat? Isn't that the love you would want to see your loved one possess? This person is an enhancement. This person is a gift, and they give you a new sense of life. Because how else can we connect to all these beautiful black people in this world if we didn't have, by the grace of God, merger systems via marriage, via romance, or bloodline, or allies via in-laws? We have to bring these people into our fold somehow. Think of the commitment that they're creating as there is a snowstorm outside, and it's a very windy, cold, and blizzard snowstorm. That snowstorm represents the circumstances that often destroy our lives. But your family member found that person sitting out in the cold, and they brought them home where it's warm, where it's ideally safe, and where they can have a sense of connection alongside another person. Though our circumstances seem very bleak, the less we can sit out in that cold, harsh storm and have people instead with us to be our warm, safe space, the better. Now, the in-laws in this instance, they represent the other people in that home, and let's hope that the person that walks into that home feels just as welcomed, not just by the person who is their lover, but also the lover's family, so that they can feel such immense joy, peace, and love being in that safe space. You don't want them to actually want to go back into the cold just because the family is making it difficult. So let us be each other's safe space. And being that we are in a shared demographic, we need to enhance upon our ways of seeing each other in unified forms. This is not an enemy. This is not a threat. This is not even, especially biblically speaking, what would be defined as strangers. Because strangers biblically is tied to the difference between who is covenanted within God's particularities versus who is not. And if you are in the covenant, you're not a stranger. These people are our bloodline. They're not strangers to us. Yes, we have degrees of familiarity. We have degrees of relatability, degrees of separation, so that it may not seem like they're as familiar, but they are still our people. So we must give them a safe space. Stop with the biases against people because of their facial traits or their skin tone or hair textures. This is our DNA. This is what we created. This is what we can create. And the more we can recognize the virtue of this DNA structure, the more we can realize that we would want it to exist, and we should be the cradle of its virtue, the cradle of its hope, and the nurturing within it. So how we treat each other, I believe, is a direct reflection of the families we would want to create, as well as creating a sense of family and togetherness and support systems when we are rallying around couples who want to be families together. Let us celebrate the couples who want to be families, who want to make families, and let us be families with the couples in this world. Let us show our support with them. Let us show our deep sincerity and respect for them. Let us love families and just be so family-centric that we are excited to make family and to be a part of a new family structure.
Black love is about finding our way back to the Garden of Eden, about remembering what it's like to be naked before we understood the concept of shame, before we were ever called dangerous, called a forbidden fruit, before we were harvested for our innovation. We are God's first flowers with no fear of the sun, the loudest laugh in the restaurant, the Millie Rock on any block. We are Kendrick Lamar's loyalty, staying together for Al Green. Forgive us if we just let our souls glow. Coming to America has never been an easy task. We don't ask for much. We just laugh and live and fight and fall and cry and bawl and sing and dance and love and love and love. And we still love better than everything else.
Now finish the sentence. Black love is?
Black love is everything.
All right. Amen. We like to hear.
We must fill this earth with massive amounts of couples and families, but as we increase, let us avoid all competition between us.
Let us become more family-centric. By family-centric, I mean let us absorb family-mindedness in everything we do. We have to see each other, those of us within this shared bloodline, as family, not enemies, not threats, not people that are in unhealthy competition, but as extensions of God's greater picture of expansion of his bloodline throughout the earth. It's not like God wanted just one person, or else in the beginning when there was just one person, God would have stopped at Adam. God didn't want just two, because in the beginning, after he made Eve, he said to the couple to be fruitful and multiply. And then he added upon that to replenish the earth. So this entire planet needs to be filled with people. God does not see it as a waste of space. He sees it as the reason he made all that space on the earth. We have to get creative in using that space. And I believe God wants to see a world that is filled to the brim with families. Filled with joy and love and peace, just like it was in the garden, but this time across billions. That it should be every single household. Think of a neighborhood. I don't know how many people we want to put in this proverbial neighborhood. Let's say it's a neighborhood comprised of 70 houses. And of these 70 houses, every single house has its own nuclear family. Now, these houses are not in competition. These houses are not raging against another couple or family. In fact, they're enjoying seeing all these families together. They're enjoying seeing all these lives that look just like them, creating life together and at peace. And that's what we should do. We should enjoy seeing couples and families, and we should strive to make them for ourselves. Because the more family-centric we are, the more it creates a safe space for us to love families. Right now, in this anti-marriage, anti-life demographic, there are code terms that people use to bash people who want spouses and families. There are counter arguments that are used against people who want to get married. And there are more of these anti-marriage sentiments than there are pro-marriage sentiments. So if we become more of a family-centric demographic, we can create more people feeling safe admitting that they want to get married. It's okay if you want to get married. It's okay if you want a partner that does not make you weak, that makes you designed. God's design, that makes you a created being, mortal. And just because we are mortal, but in different ways, does not mean that we are somehow disconnected from God's influence and protection, as He is the creator, but He is the one that can be strong and self-contained and all the qualities that are powerful. He's not fragile at all. But as humans, we are fragile. We are weak. We have strengths, but we also have within ourselves things that make us vulnerable. Remember, you started on this planet. Your origin story was as a baby. Every single one of us started out as babies. So we have to remember that that vulnerable state that God chose to bring us into the existence within is for most human beings alive. Not Adam and Eve, but they still had an origin story. So none of us can pretend we are so perfect, all-knowing, that we've pre-existed everything. We're humans. So let us act like humans. Instead of being so arrogant and harsh and pretending we don't need each other, let us admit we do. Or else, why do you exist? And why do we have desires for one another? Why do we have the need to pair bond and the need to be supported? We psychologically benefit from each other. But let us benefit in a way where we're saying to each other, you don't need to get married and marriage is bad. Instead, let us affirm each other's marriages. Let us be giddy and soft and gentle, tender towards one another, so that we would feel blessed to even be in each other's presence. And so that we would feel that creating families is the best thing that we can do. We have to incentivize our family-centric behaviors. By conforming ourselves to palatable and righteous people, we're going to make people want to marry us. We're going to make people want to be in our lives. By being softer and gentle and at peace with each other, we're going to make people want to live with us and secure a soft and peaceful life with us. So don't say what you don't want, be honest. And if it's because of hurt that you don't want to admit that you actually want to be married, let us understand that we can heal from this hurt. And I want to extend a sincere apology to all the hurt that you've endured, because certainly there are people within our lives that hurt us or that we hurt. I believe because we as a demographic have been through much generational trauma. We have to learn to be patient with each other. We are born into this trauma, and sometimes it's all we know. Sometimes it's all we project. And not to take away from that trauma, but let us begin to understand it, put a label to it, and begin to rise from it. The trauma tells us that you're not alone, that you're not going through this human experience, and especially this black human experience, by yourself. There are other people in this world that God created within this shared demographic. So let us build empathy so we can harvest those people as our resources, so that we don't have to exist in extreme loneliness. Like the Bible says, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. In other words, we can see these people as our harvest that we can build something with. Remember, there are more of them than we think, but we have to work as the laborers to make each other's lives conducive, so that we can take advantage of this harvest, so that it's not put to waste. So let the harvest grow, and let us plant even more seeds of family in each other's minds, so that everywhere we turn our heads, family, 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 family is our anthem. The family must exist in droves. Let us become family-centric.
Today I give thanks to Black women. Black women are the fires that disrupt injustice, the magic that turns nothing into something. I love Black women. I pray for Black women. I pray for Black women to be heard. I pray for a Black woman's worth to no longer be measured by how much pain she could endure. I pray for Black women to be more than objects, more than targets, more than entertainment. I pray for safe havens for Black women. I pray for blankets and anchors of love for Black women. I pray for more than justice. I pray for destruction, systems to be destroyed, institutions to burn, cities to crumble, until Black women are seen, until we are protected, until we are held, until we are safe. I pray for a new world, a new home that includes Black women and their existence. Today, I pray for Black women and pray for every Black girl's life.
This is the love of my life. What do you mean?
A little spice for homestead. Oh yeah, it tastes right now. I'm ready. Yeah, that's really good.
That's good?
While you had a little sandwich, and I was gonna have some nice tea and chips to go with it.
You want me to make that for you? I promised God I was gonna see about you. So, here comes the sandwich.
Okay, I'm gonna go just sit down there.
The Black family can be rebuilt through all our efforts. We are each potential nuclear family spouses, members, and could benefit each other's lives. But we have to work together and create strategies for this to happen.
Where is the Black family? Look no further than the mirror in front of you. You are the Black family. Because when you as an individual exist, you could be either someone's future husband or someone's future wife. So the Black family is in all of us. But the reason there is such a desolation of the family is because the laborers are few. Like the scripture says, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. So we have yet to labor to build the family back. There's so much desolation of life. So many people work to, whether they realize it or not, continue that desolation. They bash the opposite sex with their time. They make it antisocial to be around each other. And like the Bible says, pride comes before a fall. So there's a lot of arrogance in our demographic, and much of that makes it very hard for us to just relate on a very basic, simple, and human level. While it's nice to see people dress up and look great, it's become a bit unapproachable in many cases because people have made it so that the measure of each other's worth is whether or not this person appeases what their idea of hierarchy is. Among other different themes, including the lack of people relying on God's morality and the lack of people wanting to be Christ-like in their behaviors. I'm sure it's a cesspool. But we can be someone's family. And the goal is to be excited about being someone's family. You can be a future progenitor. You can be a future spouse. Someone needs you. Someone loves you. Someone could benefit from your traits. And it's beautiful to think that you are a gift. God created you. You're made in the image of God. And you are a gift to God. And you will be a gift to your future loved ones. Think of yourself at the dinner table with your spouse. You're eating together. Your children are laughing. The food tastes delicious. You're enjoying your life together. Think of those moments, because that's the family you get to have. Think of you cuddling with your spouse by the fireplace. Think of the hugs and the kisses that you get to share with your spouse. Understand that it's not something that just is reserved for other people. It's God's design for humanity. Let us work to make that happen for so many lives. Will you be encouraged to create a family? Will you be encouraged to be a family-minded person? And if so, and we do this and think this in droves, the Black family can come back. The Black family can be restored. We are all the Black family. So let us rise to the occasion. The Black family must be rebuilt.
Like, bro, if you go back to the 70s, there's plenty of music about how to keep a woman happy.
That's
plenty.
a fact.
Like, if you go back to the 60s, the 50s, like, it wasn't until the violence in our communities became entertainment for the masses, and we know who the masses are, that you saw a switch from what was acceptable to come from our community and be called art. Our love stories was no longer art because white people couldn't consume that.
Wow.
There was nothing palatable about Black love because it was versed in something different. Our love had to come from struggle. Our love had to be had through strife, and we talked about that, bruh.
Yeah.
Like that's what
and we talked about the resilience in love.
Exactly,
we
bruh.
don't talk about
Would just
resilience in
yell.
love no more.
Lean on
That's
me.
crazy.
Just start yelling on the track. I love you.
But I told him one day that I wanted a
we discussed.
I wanted a brown child with I wanted to raise Black babies with a Black man. That's what I told him.
Strong Black man.
A strong. I'm sorry, you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was another moment. It's like
It was a
I
moment.
ain't heard that before. Okay.
Yeah.
We must realize that our reproduction is a blessing because we were created to possess the traits we have. Let us learn to value our image, DNA, and let us value ourselves the way God created us to be.
God's design for reproduction is beautiful. Oftentimes, reproduction is referred to as procreation. But when I think of the initial creation, God created something out of nothing. He created all these different concepts and ideas. And the only thing we can do as humans is either expand on that dialogue, which is not really expanding at all, or we can worsen it, but that's another story. But God being the infinite creator, He came up with this stuff without even having a script or a blueprint or an example. He was the inspiration. I mean, think of the shoe bill, think of the dove, think of the lion, think of the different ecosystems that God created. Think of the hummingbird, the parrot, the toucan, think of the flamingo. Think of all of God's creation, and somehow we get to be a part of that. I think God is such a magnificent creator, and I'm grateful for his creativity. And his creativity within the human experience in creating us and having us reproduce is so fascinating. Think of it as an honor, really, because God gave the man certain traits, and God gave the woman certain traits. And when they consummate upon their love and covenant, they then can duplicate each other's traits and either create someone that looks more or less like the other parent, or like such a composite of both that it looks neither to the parent, but is still their own distinct offspring. Isn't it beautiful how God designed the different elements of the egg and the sperm meeting together, and how he allowed it to be done via a sexual way, so that the couple's introduction into family is through the joy of consummating the family together. And all the ways that procreation comes about is so deep and secure and intimate. Just think of the fact that the wife is carrying her husband's sperm in her body, but for 9 months. And that is the melting point of their shared DNA. Through their shared DNA, they're able to create distinctly new human beings that occupy this earth, their stamp of godly approval. And God always incentivizes marriage and family. God even says children are a heritage from him, that they are a blessing. So we have to see that as an honor, that God designed us to possess these offspring. I understand that there are governmental forces that make life unusually difficult to even so much as survive. I understand that these governmental forces like to use their influence to cause chaos and ruin and hate and self-hate. But our children are worthy. The way we are, by the grace of God, able to create them is worthy. Our spouses and the love that we share in the DNA that we will create in having a shared offspring is worthy. So we must learn to value the worth of our godly reproduction. We must learn to value the worth and the sacred nature of family building, the intimacy and bond that a husband and wife share, their own stamp of creation that they share. In our demographic, with all the self-hate, sometimes I believe we forget that we are designed by God, that God installed us to look this way. Sometimes I think we forget that our children are worthy of existence, that God designed their afros and their darker skin and their darker eyes, and their noses and their lips and all the traits he gave us. But remember, God, the ultimate creator, is the real creator. We are the procreator. So we procreate upon his initial ideas. We work together to create and expand his initial ideas. But he was the one who designed our big lips. He was the one who designed our skin tones. He was the one who designed our hair type. So let us appreciate and affirm what God initialized. And let us understand that the same way he created the different ecosystems, the same way he created different non-human animal life, the same way he created the universe, the stars, the same way he created many other concepts, is the same way his creation comes together in the formation of the family. Let us love and affirm the creation of procreation. Let us love and affirm the creation of the family. And let us appreciate our spouse's or potential spouse's DNA, as well as appreciating the DNA others share within our demographic. And let us affirm the fact that as created beings, we are worthy. Or else, why did God make us?
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, baby girl.
Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl.
Hi, baby girl.
Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Ollie.
Hi, baby girl.
I love you, black man.
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 Black man, I love you.
You're a black man. I love you.
I love you. I appreciate you. From this black queen to all my black kings out there.
All of our couples have worth and all of our families as well. Let us celebrate the entirety and diversity of black families and couples. Do not compete with each other, embrace one another.
We have to understand that we should not work against each other. There are so many hierarchical ways we perceive ourselves that I believe if we're not careful, this can be in a dangerous way as we increase in families. So don't let your mind think that there is one family that's better than another family. As we increase in nuclear families, each nuclear family is an example to their own homes. Yes, they are a part of this greater mosaic of black lives. Yes, they are a part of our demographic, but they get to be such a joy to their specific household, and we celebrate the joy they are affirming within their specific lineages. So there isn't a competition, because how do you compete in the expansion model of humanity? If we're all to be fruitful and multiply, we're all playing a role in filling up the earth. If we're all playing a role in filling up the earth, then one person can't do it by themselves. So we celebrate your family as we celebrate our family. We celebrate your traits as we celebrate our traits. Each and every one of them a part of the larger symphony of God's righteous creative orchestra. And we have to understand that we, as His creation, we have distinct traits. We're not all identical, and even within people that are closer in similitude aesthetically, even they have distinct fingerprints that God created and distinct personalities. So we all have within ourselves a contribution we create to this larger world. As individuals, as the offspring of somebody else's procreation, and as people that can create another set of offspring that we love and enjoy. What we should celebrate is the increase of black families so much that there's all these beautiful black families to behold. Think of it as looking at a mountain of beautiful black life. And since there's so many different kinds of families and couples and people, then there's so much more love to go around. If we see ourselves as an expansion rather than subtraction, we will begin to realize the purpose of us is having a world that life is working in unison, life is working in peace, and life is brimming in abundance. There's no competition between our families. There's no competition between the couples. And let us not think like that, because if there was a competition mindset where it's like, well, my spouse is better than yours, or my family is better than yours, it creates this difficulty, because while you may have your spouse, your offspring, when they eventually grow up, they need their spouse. So the less enemies we can create, the more likely families can be formed by that choice. The more we make life difficult for each other as a people, the more it's going to make generations of lives difficult. Because who will bridge the gap between those lives? Think of support systems as a bridge. They're not only helping us to replenish the earth, which is something one family cannot do by themselves, but they are also giving us a bridge so that if our offspring grow up to create families of their own, they can have mates. And also remember, these people could be our friends, they could be our allies, political partners, they can be our neighborhood, they can be part of this grandstanding appeal that we're trying to create to make our lives more efficient as a demographic. The less enemies that we have here, the better. Let us work together. We are one. The black family is one. And the black demographic should become a family.
I love you, black woman. We love you, black woman. I love you, black woman.
I love you, black woman.
I love black women. I love you, black women. I love black women.
We love you, black women.
I love you, black women. I love you, black women.
I love you, black women.
I love you, black women.
I love you, black women.
We love you, black women. I love you, black women. Love you, black women.
We love you, black women.
I love you, black women.
From the bottom of my heart, I love you, black woman.
There are too many men, once their wives start having their children they made, oh, well, she just ain't available no more, you know what I'm saying? And she's kind of let herself go. She had a baby, fool. She had your baby. Whatever your baby did to her body, you need to accept the consequences of. If that flat stomach go away and that six-pack go away and it looked like somebody threw spaghetti on her stomach because she got all the stretch marks and stuff, you better love it.
That's right.
Because your sperm hit that egg and blew that belly out.
We must unite on many levels. We must enhance each other's lives so we can incentivize unity. We must build from the foundation, which is our couples and families, and extend upward.
I do not see our families as existing in separate parts. In fact, I tend to believe in the monolith. I've shared in different discussions what a monolith is. And in summary, the connotation of monolith is worse than the actual dictionary definition. The dictionary definition is that a monolith is unification, monolith is strength, monolith is system. And we could use that for our demographic because we are currently and unfortunately disunited, we are vulnerable, and we do not have working systems within ourselves and infrastructurally. So a monolith is what I aspire to for us. I also believe in families as governments. This is inspired by a quote which I've shared on my platform by Charles Caleb Colton. Charles Caleb Colton stated in summary that families are the smallest unit of government. And I believe if we are to take on his quote, we can govern the demographic by starting within the home and having that trickle into the qualitative influence of our society. Considering that I believe in the monolith, and I believe in family governments, and I also believe in in-laws being extremely massive, and seeing the in-law community as essential to the community itself, because they are the community and the next level of relatability. I believe there should be so many in-laws that the majority of the population are somehow in-laws. And as such, that should tell you that I see us as a group. I believe in the group because of my own personal testimony that God is bringing me through. And I believe that God sees his people as one bloodline. I do not think he sees them as separate entities. This is why 2 Chronicles isn't speaking to one person when God says in 7 verse 14 that if my people, he didn't say one or two. He's talking to an entire bloodline. And he says, if they would humble themselves and pray and turn away from their wicked ways and seek my face, then I will hear from heaven and I will heal their sins and I will heal their land. So it's a group effort. And I believe it is our group set of actions that lead us into that 2 Chronicles 7:14 model. And I believe it is our group actions that make this world a better place. So because I'm of this belief of group, I affirm the group and not just the individuals. I see the individuals as building blocks to the larger sanctity of the group. We're not as a demographic going through everything anti-black and anti-life alone. We're going through that within our shared experience. So somehow using that and having allies and comfort within the support systems in knowing that we're not alone could be of benefit if we were to at least try. Which means that as much as I talk about the nuclear family, I want it to be understood that I believe in the global premise of unity, but that the family is the smallest scale model in creating and establishing that unity. It's the blueprint that helps us understand other levels of unity. It's the blueprint that gives us wording and description for how we can even make the other levels of unity happen. Going back to the government model, if our families are our government, how we qualitatively shape our government then can affect the ways that other people interact with us in this world. And if more of us are qualitatively shaping our offspring in specific ways, where we affirm their lives, where we affirm their confidence, it will make it so that the world that everybody else lives in, that they share with us, is easier. It is my belief that we need to govern our families at large, so that our offspring have sanity of mind, so that our households thrive, and so that our collective thrives. I believe in collectivism. I believe the Black families should unite. All our nuclear families should unite, because we can serve as resources to each other, potentially rendering each other future progenitors, also just having support systems, having people that can empathize, having people that could share their knowledge, their skill set, whatever it needs to be that is shared across us. As our nuclear families unite, it creates a world where we always have something. Think of all the lack that we have, lack of human resources, material resources. This can counteract that lack. So let us see ourselves as builders to each other's greater picture. The more divided, the less we're going to have incentive for the group. If we're going to be esteeming ourselves and raising the narrative of our lives, then we have to make it so that we create allies. Let's not be strangers or just people looking from the outside in. Let's not just be people that are just there or even acquaintances. Let's build a world where Black lives can thrive. And I think that starts with us, not externally, because it never really did happen externally. And if you look at our movements all throughout the world, as well as all throughout the centuries, our movements were only possible because we realized our shared sense of loss. But if you look at all our failures throughout history, whether it's us betraying each other and the treachery we installed, that came because of division. That came because we were so tribal and self-centered, rather than seeing the bloodline as one. And if you look at the unity within other groups, you'll realize that they have strong networks of families. They have nepotism. They have biased hiring practices. They have a lot of things that they install for themselves to put them on the standard that they are. And they give that to themselves first. We should implement as what we see other groups are doing, but for ourselves. Realizing that we have our families to benefit, our children and spouses and community and people to benefit. We must love each other. We must support each other. And we must render each other's lives easy in knowing that the more the merrier that we can induct into our future livable Black society. And other groups, they thrive off of unity. I believe that's part of why they are able to keep wealth within their communities so much, and why there's such a big gap between them and us. Not only is a lot of the wealth they possess taken from our lands and the history that we've been put under, but it was also secured within themselves, so they can constantly circulate their wealth within themselves. But if they didn't have strong networks of families at large, then how could they then secure that wealth? We need to secure within ourselves resources, passing it down to one another by starting with ourselves as human resources. All our nuclear families must unite with other nuclear families, and we need to make politics around the family and around collectivism and support systems. And in my case, I'm pro-marriage and pro-the family. But I also believe this can transcend into conversations of intercultural unity, which is inclusive of marriage and the family, by the way, and also global unity. So we have to, as a demographic, unite. Because in my perception, most of our families, most of our cultures, and most of our lives are solipsistic and endogamous. Endogamous is good, but to an extreme where it cuts the rest of the collective off, and it seems to promote tribalism better than the idea of group and collectivism. So uniting all the families is a collective vision of global support systems.
I love you, black people.
I love you, black people.
Black people, I love you. Keep the chain going.
I love you, black people. And I want us to show each other constantly, intentionally.
I love you, my black people.
I love you, black people. I got much love for y'all.
I love you, black people. You are important.
I love you, black people.
I love you, black people.
Grand rising queens and kings. Happy marvelous Monday. Just wanted to say, I love you, black people.
I love you, black people.
I love you, my black people, my highly melanated beings. I highly, extremely love y'all.
I love you, black people.
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 I love you, black people. Mwah.
You know Ike loves you, black people.
I love you, black people.
Love all my black people, gods and goddesses.
I love you, black people. I love the black men. I love my other black sisters and our beautiful children.
I love you, black people.
Okay, I like that. I love you, my black people. Let's get it.
I love you, black people.
I love you, black people.
I love you, black people.
I love you, black people. Stay strong, keep moving, and keep supporting one another.
Let us marry each other as a demographic so that we can bind ourselves, merge ourselves together, and move upward as we rebuild the Black family. That is all I have for today's affirmations of Black families, Black couples. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Gershly Karen Pierre, and I'm pro-marriage and pro the nuclear family. Stay tuned for more.